And we're back live with our coverage from the North American Hub presented by Monster Energy. This is the winner bracket finals. RoX.KiS taking on Mouz with a direct seed on the line. Well, I've been saying that kind of incorrectly. I mean, you're guaranteed to be there. But if you win, you have a shot at a direct seed into the TI4 bracket. And both of these teams, the two that everyone anticipated would be in the finals, not failing to deliver in that aspect. But to be honest, game one felt a little wonky on both sides. You saw Mouz, their laning phase did not go as planned. They allowed RoX.KiS way too much leeway there. Yeah. Then RoX had the biggest chance in the world to just shut the door on them and failed to do so.
That's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's pretty much what happened. This game, I would say maybe switch it up for RoX.KiS, but this is a team that doesn't switch it up. They're still going to play exactly the same. So it's going to be the same challenge for Mouz. This time I feel like they lane a little better, and this time they just need to hold for as long as they possibly can against RoX.KiS, and that's pretty much it. Just if Mouz can hold the pressure for 30 minutes and onward, they have a very good chance of winning the games.
Well, we'll find out. The predictions were Mouz 2-0 by Cinder, and they have a shot at that. The rest of us said 2-1, expecting a third game. RoX got to get it together in a hurry, lest they find themselves in the lower bracket. The draft is underway, and we'll go ahead and move on into that. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers. Of course, the brilliant guy next to me, his name is Fear, and we'll be here for this series, followed up by the all right, that works. Yeah, you guys didn't see that, and probably for the best is our cheeky observer just about destroyed the set doing his best crab impression. And yes, that's literally that's the play-by-play on what took place. But
Zoidberg, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Mouz leading off with two very familiar heroes for them, the Mirana and the Ancient Apparition. And we see RoX going right back to what they tried to make happen last time in the Lycan and the Tree.
Exact same, almost the exact same picks.
Yep.
I mean, the Nature's Prophet was banned out by Mouse Sports, and they take Mirana instead. But Mirana is going to pretty much do the exact same thing that Nature's Prophet did last game. So both teams not willing to change their draft, but we are going to see some heroes get banned out, such as the Troll.
Yeah, the Troll, an interesting ban there. Mouz taking away the Invoker and the Centaur from RoX this time, and they actually banned the Prophet this time as well. Pycat's Prophet play in game one was actually quite good.
Yeah.
And you know, it's Prophet's one of those heroes where you can, just like anything, you can make it sound like LOL Global TP pushing towers hard. You can make a joke of it, but more than anything, I was impressed with his maneuvering in fights. Even if you're playing a right-click kind of a approach to Prophet, and he was so integral in their damage output until the Wraith King came online, he had to stay alive, and for the most part, his sprouts were on point. But more importantly, he was just staying right at the periphery of these fights, even early on, and just having a huge impact that way. And that was a big factor in allowing them to stem the tide to keep RoX off of the racks.
Yeah, his Prophet play was really good. Mainly a lot of Prophet players. You can notice a really good one to a mediocre one is positioning, where he TPs and getting caught out.
Yep.
He didn't get caught out, I think, even once still pushing that game. So, and his positioning in the fights are always on par. And RoX.KiS, they know what they wanted to do coming into this, and they just decided, okay, last game was a fluke.
It was a warm-up.
It was a warm-up game. First game of the day, as we like to call it. But, yeah, they're going to pick the exact same heroes. First three, exactly the same. And they just felt like they just misplayed it. If they do it again, they're going to do a better job. And actually, they do pick the Weaver instead. So that will be the Panda substitute this game. So a little more late game. A lot more late game than I usually see from RoX.KiS, but I like it. It looks pretty good. And you do have the Ancient Apparition, Rubik, Mirana core. For me, Mouse Sports, their opening always seems really weak to me.
Yeah.
It's like they open up their draft and it's like, okay, you have a bunch of heroes there that they look okay. I think Dragonite rounds it out well, but you can either say the heroes they pick are kind of squishy most of the time from what I see, and they do a really good job at hiding how their lineup's going to come together.
Yeah, that's such a big part of effective drafting. And RoX, we've been singing the praises of Gold Black and RoX.KiS drafting. It is one of their strongest points, but they are very often not transparent at all. Or they are transparent. When you see them open up, it's like, oh, this is the gimmick they're going to run with this time. Even when it's creative, usually you can suss it out with a few picks. Mouz, I would agree, is much more ambiguous in their drafting. And yeah, like you were saying, we were even talking about it last game as well. It seemed like they just lack glue a lot of the time. You expect to see usually a tandem of 3 heroes that have really special interactions and make them, seem like they're going to work in any situation. And Mouz, sometimes they do that, sometimes they don't. But oftentimes you don't really see that emerge at all until the game is actually underway and you start to see how these heroes are built out. But yeah, the DK, as you said, I actually like DK a lot because right now the majority of the damage from RoX, if not all of it at this point, is going to be single target heroes in the Lycan and the Weaver, and you know, 2 right click heroes. And guess what? Dragon Knight wears armor, dude. He doesn't mind right click so much.
Right, and he also has a really good disable that's against the Puck and the Weaver. Instant disable, so you can burst them down relatively easy if you have the follow-up. And they do. They have them on arrow, they have AA ult, whatever Rubik manages to steal. It's a decent Rubik game as well. You always steal. Sakuchi is one of the better spells you can steal as a Rubik. Living Armor also very good, especially when you're playing against heroes like Lycan, that split push. If he gets a little chip damage down, push him off the lane, heal the towers right back up. But overall, RoX.KiS needs their last hero, and they're looking for support at this stage. And is Dazzle still in the pool?
He
Dazzle is still in the pool. They do have an AA on mouse sports, which turns teams off a little bit in some degree in picking that hero, but it's okay against AA too. If you don't die from the burst, you can just heal everyone up after, and the Grave is also very good against AA ult until he gets the Scepter.
I feel like that'll make a Dazzle pick would make RoX.KiS a little thin though. Like we said, they've only got 2 major sources of damage output, and both are single target right clickers. I feel like they you know, a Dazzle would certainly fit, but I do feel like they need something like that, something that's going to allow them to manipulate fights, but you know, gives them another source of damage in the Static Storm. Mouz answers with the Darkseer pick.
I definitely like that Disruptor a lot.
Yeah.
It's super good against the Mirana too. You can get pick-offs, and you do pick the Darkseer, and on top of that, it's hard to get your combination off when there's a big Static Storm laying in the middle of the team fight too. But yeah, Disruptor, I like it a lot. I thought Dazzle was more of like a RoX.KiS kind of hero, but I think Disruptor fits their lineup much better.
Yep. Well, it's very difficult. You know, RoX now has a lineup that's basically impossible to run away from. You will be pursued and tracked down by a Weaver, by a Lycan if he has his ult activated or has it saved up, by a Puck, of course, who can track you down. And if you try to run, now you have to worry about Glimpse as well. Mouz, though, I actually really like we were talking about, the glue pick and the Darkseer. It makes a lot of sense to me, gives them team fight, gives them a hero who can rush out a mechanism and take that pressure off of other supports. And I actually really like the way that the Dragon Knight, Mirana, and in particular, the Ancient Apparition are all going to work. I like the idea of using a Dragon Tail to set up for a Sacred Arrow, especially early on in these early fights. Hit the arrow off of the Dragon Tail, and then followed up with a Cold Feet that's guaranteed to proc at that point.
Right.
So.
Yeah, they definitely have good lockdown. The only problem for me, I call this basically like a casual Darkseer pick. I mean, they don't really have a combo. They can put it together. I mean, Vacuum Wall in its own right is team fight, but you're not going to have that big wombo combo on top of it. But going into the late game, Darkseer and DK with that splash damage when you get to level 3 ultimate for the Frost Breath is actually very strong. But until then, this Darkseer doesn't give him the best team fight, so Mouz's team fight's a little thin still, but both teams have really good late game. So both teams have similar drafts this game. I don't think either team is pressured to do anything within the early mid game, and it's probably just kind of be a passive farming game for the most part.
Yep. Well, the horn blows, and no one doing anything risky. Even the lanes look to be pretty quiet. So how about we take a look at who's handling who? We'll begin with Sadoy on RoX.KiS this time around. He'll be back on the old Puck. Solo is living up to his name. Taking the Lycan mid this time, anticipating Fatal on the Dragon Knight, so good matchup there. Yol, who did struggle last game if we're honest, his impact quite low. He'll be looking to have a better performance on the Disruptor this time around. Black resumes his station on the tree, and farming, that's going to be the Weaver, played by BZZ. Other side of the river for Mouz, we're going to have MSS. He's out in the off lane on the Darkseer, has one would anticipate. In mid, once again, that will be Fate on the Dragon Knight, so 2 melee strength heroes in mid. That's fun to talk about and to keep an eye on. Misery on the Rubik, keeping an eye on that Haste Rune as well. And up atop, it'll be Poss on the Ancient Apparition and farming that Mirana. Standout player from last game, Pycat.
And it looks like Misery will go for that chicken snipe. Seems to be getting really popular, but no, it looks like he's just going to run around. But he probably will stick around and look for that chick snipe.
And still waiting on the career to show its face. How do you feel about this mid matchup, Lycan versus DK?
It's pretty much a wash for the most part. Like, both heroes will farm here. I mean, there will be some point where Lycan, when he gets them wolves that have magic, invisibility, regen, etc., can push DK out of the lane, but until level 3 or so, DK should have a slight edge, but overall, it's pretty much a wash.
Rubik still hanging out, has not picked up a single point of experience, so the fact that he's accomplishing so little means it's much more important now that he does manage to get the chicken snipe if they can. MSS didn't like the way that bottom lane looked, so has made his way into the jungle, and we'll see how long he's going to stay there, if he's going to end up drifting back. But for now, that courier sitting back at the base solo did just buy the bottle, and now here we go.
This has to be so obvious, though. That Rubik's been gone for so long.
Yep. Let's see. Bottle on the way. Courier.
Go down. There you go.
Go down. Yep, he's going to take the safe path And yeah, that's a pretty big deal for them because now Rubik again has done nothing. He sat and watched Rune, and now he has sat and watched the lane. And Sadoy's actually going to move down and maybe get eyes on it.
Yeah, that was really just like such an obvious chicken snipe attempt. And did they even have wards for that? I think they had wards scouting him pick up that haste room and just never return as well. So like that was so much wasted time for Misery, which helps the puck out a lot in getting levels, and he's almost up to level 3 now.
Yeah, we haven't even really talked about that. The fact that Sadoy has been under very little pressure in this top lane. He's actually doing good damage to Poss at the moment. And yeah, actually able to take him down to half health. Pycat's there, and the ward thrown, and there's the jaunt. Arrow easily dodged. Just gave him the old stutter step and makes it back to his tower. Sadoy's doing great.
Yeah, he has a really good start. And on mid lane, DK's doing a little better right now, but once you get those level 4 wolves in particular, like you'll see the Lycan do a lot better in this lane.
Still 0-0. 3 minutes in. Overall CS. Tops of the board are the Weaver and the DK, both sitting at 18 apiece. Moran is at 16. Lycan in mid, losing a little bit, but like you said, that should shore itself up once the Wolves get a little more punchy. He's at 12, and other than that, just kind of a grab bag. Sadoy hasn't picked up a ton of CS, but again, the level is very important for him, so he's doing great. MSS still just shaking and baking here in the jungle, and this could be a game where all you compendium owners and users and predictors could have a very late first blood.
Yeah. I think the latest first blood we had, we were casting, I think it was CIS versus, it's like 15 minutes first blood or something ridiculous. I doubt that'll be the case. Just CIS likes to play it a little more passive than most teams.
Well, remember, that didn't apply to this, though. That's only a European qualifier.
Right.
Think.
Oh, so. Yeah, as far as compendium goes, we're just talking about games in general.
Dude. Without a compendium, these games wouldn't matter. Like, come on.
True enough. I just randomed my compendium points, to be honest with you. Just randomly clicked on stuff. Hopefully I get them right.
What's wrong with you, dude? You gotta get in the spirit of things.
I know. I'm the Grinch.
the Grinch of Dota.
Indeed.
Compendium theory crafting's where it's at. RoX moving 2 into mid now, and not going to have a chance to do much. Feta is up on the high ground, and they are not spotted by a ward. The only ward on that side of the river belonging to RoX.KiS themselves. Here's going to be a rotation coming. They're going to know this is coming, maybe. No, never mind. He was invis. And, yep, pinged out. They saw him coming. They popped his smoke. And looks like just a whole lot of movement without a whole lot to show for it.
Yeah, very quiet laning phase. As I was predicting, like there's not going to be much going on in early game. And just when you pick these type of mids in particular that have very little kill potential, I mean, DK when he gets 6, he will have the ability to get kills, but Lycan is not an easy target. So just the way they drafted both their mids, very tanky, hard to kill heroes, and their supports, if they roam, I mean, they're not bad at roaming around, but they chose not to. In particular, like the AA and the Disruptor and the Tree can get some kills on this DK. That will be possible, but looks like they just rather get some levels and farm.
Well, the rest of the lanes backing up a bit. Misery has done nothing. Like, the guy's still hanging around mid a little bit. What level is he? If he's level 2, I'll be shocked. Yeah, that's actually shocking to me. I'm surprised he's picked up that much experience, but hanging around now, leeching a bit off of Phaeton. He may decide to go for something. Nope, solo. Withdrawing as his creep wave died out. And down at bottom, we can see some heavy stacking of the jungle now. And, yeah, no, never mind. Thought they were trying to stack it, but instead just dragging him out.
Yes, yeah, Misery, they can't even kill mid. Like, with a level 6 DK and a level Rubik, they just don't have the damage. It's just... Both teams are just going to farm, and they're going to farm for a while. Like, we're going to see a very late first blood, most likely. Darkseer, he's also very hard to kill.
The Wolf actually denied the rune that time.
Good micro.
Yep, good handle, and making sure neither Misery nor Mid got to hang on. MSS could be in trouble. He's going to be caught with the kinetic field, and this should be our first blood. There it is. There's going to be a reaction, so they're going to end up getting a return kill on Goldblack. Maybe Tree Armor, good ability, and yeah, he's going to be able to make it away. Ooh.
Like 4 HP.
Less than 10 HP, and he survives less than 5 HP.
Yeah.
RoX.KiS gets on the board first and dodges, dropping a hero. Let's see, I was going to say, is Goldblack going to heal himself? No, he's going to suicide. Makes sense.
Yeah, and more importantly as well, it's not more important than the first blood, but getting their safe lane farmer down to bottom lane, that's a lot of wasted time too. So laning phase going in RoX.KiS's advantage for the first time.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, in games like this where it's so quiet, it's not as fun. It's the average first blood times, by the way. Yeah, 230, 230, 214.
Yeah, I can't even read it. It's like
2 minutes and some odd seconds is average. Yep. Brian is apologizing to us. He's sorry, guys. Yeah,
Blame
that's
Dota,
a Dota
not him.
thing. Don't blame me. Hashtag responsibility. But yeah, we're at 1-1, and only one of those. But like what I was saying was, you know, when a laning phase is this quiet, the littlest things are what give you the edge, and that's definitely a very, very good exchange, like you said. Not just because the first blood, obviously, but just taking away PyCat from that top lane.
Yeah, I think more importantly, instead of looking for kills and stuff, just looking at the overall efficiency and gold graphs is the best way to do it.
Sudoi got hit with a damn near max range arrow, and he's going to die because of it. Tree armor helps, but not that much, and he ends up taking a spill. PyCat actually, he was so far away. That had to be close to max range.
Yeah, every time I watch PyCat play this Mirana, she just shoots arrows without much setup and hits most of them, to be honest with you.
Yep.
He's really good at shoot arrow, hit arrow.
Yep. He and Sing Sing, best at the hero because they do hit their arrows. Vlad's done on the Lycan now. Mouz making their way onto the board with their first legitimate kill on Sudoi. Sudoi is almost level 6, though. Has up his brown boots, not a whole lot else. He's way low on CS, so even though he's been doing fairly well up there, like, hang on. Goldblack's actually, yeah, Feta spots him out, pings it out immediately. So trying to go for a wraparound ends up not working out because Goldblack in the right place at the right time. But even though he's got a lot of experience, his gold and item progression is non-existent.
Yeah, I mean, all the supports are sitting at level 4 right now, so they're all relatively poor. AA did have a little space, but looks like he's going to buy wards with it. Oh, and we have a glimpse of mid, but looks like easy TP out.
Yep.
Like, as I was saying with this mid matchup in particular, it's just, they're so tanky, it's hard to kill them.
Yep.
And they both have to sit here in this mid lane and not go anywhere, because if DK leaves, Lycan has Vlads, he takes a tower. And if Lycan leaves, DK uses ult and takes a tower.
Right.
So they both just have to like camp out in mids, which leaves us for a very passive laning phase.
Yeah, this feels a lot like, you know, like a low-level pub match where everyone's just like, all right, so we stay in lane until 25 minutes, then we all meet up mid and push. And kind of has that feel. Not like the rotations we have seen have been largely ineffective. And that's just good drafting, good laning on both sides, really. Weaver and Lycan, though, are tops of the board in CS. And, yeah, the Weaver, we haven't even talked about him at all. BZZ got up that Midas, and now getting up a wand afterwards. I actually really like that. I mean, why would you not go Midas whenever it's this passive to begin?
Yeah, there's no reason not to, especially on a hero like Weaver. Mirana in particular, she wanted to get more aggressive, and like you see a lot of Miranas, they just don't go Midas anymore. Some do, but most just go like, okay, let's get our Aquila, drums, phase up, go for that Maelstrom. I'll farm just as fast anyway, and I'll be able to do a lot of damage through the mid game too. So they're gonna get a little out farmed here, and if you just look at the golden experience, like yeah, it's 1,000 gold and hovering over 2,000 experience too. So just raw efficiency wise, and the first blood gives them a little bit, but they did lose 2 kills, but they're still ahead. So just good efficiency from RoX.KiS right now.
I mean, if you look at like Puck and Tree, for example, they're sitting at much higher net worth than the lowest 2 on the side of Mal. So their supports are going to be very, very hungry throughout most of the game. Goldblack has picked up a headdress. Would imagine he'll be on the way to the mech. And yep,
Well, they see him. They see him.
It's pinged out immediately, and actually just gave away the jig there. They know they have a sentry there for sure.
Yeah, they definitely do. But at this stage, it's like this mid lane is still just like watching paint dry at this point. Just hitting creeps, returning, pushing the equilibrium, etc.
Yep.
At some point, this Weaver's going to get really farmed. Some point, RoX.KiS, I believe, will just want to push a tower as 5, and then we'll see some action.
Yeah, it's like playing Minecraft, dude. Hitting creeps and building stuff.
Yep.
MSS will be building the mech as anticipated. Has the headdress up. He and Goldblack are roughly the same investment into their mechanism. Here's going to be a rotation. Feta leaving that lane. As you said, this is chancy just by its own nature, leaving that lane completely unoccupied with a Lycan with Vlads, who's ready to push and push hard. They're going to maybe take a run here, but yeah, looks like they ping it out, and Feta reveals himself. So once again, a failed gank over in mid. That tower is getting pushed, and there will be a TPN. Solo got some damage done, but not enough to bring it down in whole.
Yeah, and he's going for the max Howl build too, so like he does a ton of damage to towers right now, and his team in particular, like going into like the mid game, Weaver in particular is so good with Howl damage when it's maxed out. He has that double attack, it does work on it, so he's going to be hitting super hard, and if he gets up to that, most likely he's going for the normal Lincolns into Desolator builds, and he's going to do so much damage. So both teams just poking at the towers, but every time Dragonite rotates out and you don't have a hero there that can deal with Lycan, you're going to see what happens. You're going to take damage, and Arrow is just going to peg a wolf on top, but that gave away... Do they have an award up? No, it was just a blind arrow up there, so that might actually force a sentry out by the Ancients.
And Feta, here we go. Go Black's there. Go Black hits him with the leech seed. Solo's there to follow. There's going to be a glimpse all the way back into a kinetic field static storm. Well played there from Yol. Now the reaction is coming out of Mouse Sports, though. Solo has to hightail it and get on out. Feta will end up surviving there. Took a lot of investment, and down at bottom, this frees up the bottom lane as BZZ continues to beat away on creeps and beginning to pressure those towers. And we're getting into a territory, I feel like it's becoming an imperative that they get towers down. Otherwise, this tree is just going to make it so hard for them to have map control. 3-man coil. Is there a follow? Sadoi stunned out with the Dragon Tail. They are going to be able to take the tier 1 most likely. Yol's going to be telekinesed and brought out right into a Dragon Breath, or Breathe Fire, I should say. And he ends up taking a lot of damage there. Mouz now on the run. Most of them very, very low health. That tier 1 is still standing, by the way. BZZ shows himself. Yeah, that's odd. That's bizarre. That tower will be denied. It had 1 HP. Wow.
Yeah, this is a poison. Took it down to 1 HP. So, I mean, poison breath is also very good against treant when pushing. It does take off the living armor charges. Yeah. But yeah, they just got a couple freebies there from Mouz.
You know, that's something we haven't really talked about. They've got 2 good answers in that. The poison breath from the Dragon Knight, as you said. Also the Ion Shell. Very handy dandy.
Yeah. Ion Shell completely destroys tree armor, like literally instantly. As soon as she comes next to a target, all charges get dispelled. So, like, they have ways of dealing with tree armor, and this is feeling like one of those games where you do pick a tree and protector, but you're not getting much done with it, to be honest.
Yep. Need a tower lead. So they need to start pushing. They've got great split push. Mouz is a little bit stronger in the team fight department for sure, but RoX really needs to start putting the utility and the elusiveness of a Lycan and a Weaver to use and start getting some of these tier 1s down in the side lanes in particular. Down at bottom, up, wow, Solo hit with another arrow. Here's a TPN, that's going to be Misery. Ice Blast is there, on the way, telekinesis, tree armor. Not going to be enough as a couple of auto attacks, and down he goes. Rubik securing the kill there. He actually stole his ultimate. Yeah, so he's going to be a little bit more of a threat for the near future. Mouz, though, after a very quiet laning phase, is beginning to just punish the passivity of RoX.KiS. 5-1 now.
Yeah, they're just getting some free pickoffs. Like, RoX.KiS is overextending a little bit, and Mouz is always there to punish it. So, Mouz just getting kills, 5 kills in a row now for them.
Well, if you're RoX, the status quo, the way things are going now, job's not getting the job done. What do you change up? What's your adjustment?
I mean, they just need to keep farming and not get picked off.
Glimpse. Back into a kinetic field static storm. They don't have the damage, I don't think. And yeah, he's just going to be able to walk away. There's a coil spin, and now with BZZ there. That's enough, so very nice kill there.
Yeah, they're going to lose their tier 1 on bottom, and you don't want to lose your tier 1s against Stream Protector in particular, but if they can translate that kill on top lane to a tower, that'd be well worth it, but that's not going to be too easy to do. Let's check out the TP situation. Mech is finished on Darkseer as well, which makes it even harder to fight into. So they have 20 seconds to take this, but it's up to Mouz right now if they want to defend this or try and take another tower, because they have to deal with mid as well. So actually, they should get 1 tower regardless here for RoX.KiS.
Yep. Solo committing to mid. He's just going to stay and able to bring it down MSS there, but can't do a whole lot. Has some support coming, but Solo going to cut up to top. That's going to be 2 tier 1s traded for 2 tier 1s and a kill on DK traded for a tier 1 bottom. I'm sure they're happy with that.
It wasn't even like a trade. Like, they could have easily defended one of those towers at least, because like they got that bottom tower and then I don't know, they just kind of just let that go away for free, and that's something you can't really do against RoX.KiS's lineup, especially considering that they have an advantage in the late game as well with that Midas pickup, and they're just simply just out farming them right now with their 2 cores.
Yep, net worth shows us 2 on top, Weaver and the Lycan. It's Mirana, Dragon Knight, Darkseer after that. I feel like it's time for Mouz to maybe start thinking about forcing 5-mans if they can. They've got the mech up, they've got... Like you said, Weaver's still farming. He made the early investment into Midas, so he doesn't have up a whole lot of survivability. He is on his way to a Lincoln's, one would imagine, with that ultimate orb pickup. But now would be the time, you think?
It would be nice, but seeing that Dragon Knight is building a Shadow Blade and not BKB, I don't think they want to 5-man that much. Maybe get all the tier 1s against Treant, open up the map for some pickoffs with the Shadow Blade.
Yep.
But this top tower should be an easy pickoff. But getting the tier 2s will be much harder, I think, for them. And just due to the nature of what items they're building, it looks like they want to open up the map and get split, just get picks offs. Last time we casted Pycat playing this Mirana, he was very active, looking for kills all over the map. And seeing that the DK is going Shadow Blade, they're probably going to hook up a lot and try to get pick offs. So I think RoX.KiS is the one that should be 5-manning more with that Treant, and on top of that, that Lycan with the book.
Makes sense. Lycan, as you said, finishing up his book. Shadow Blade's done on Feta in the meantime. They're hooked up as 3 in this bottom lane, maybe looking to move into the jungle and find someone. Problem is, they're going to find a whole team if they're not careful. Feta comes back out in the lane and will reveal himself every bit of RoX.KiS, just a stone's throw away. And Mouz rotating down the rest of their lineup as well. Will be a Maelstrom pickup on PyCat.
Yeah, this is pretty much the norm Autumn build for the most part. I think this is like the patent Sing Sing build, because he would do this like every single game when he played Mirana, and people just started catching on and be like, all right, I can fight mid game, and then when it gets passive, I'll just farm with the Maelstrom and transition into late game. So it's a really well-rounded build.
Yep. I like seeing a lot more Maelstroms and Mjolnirs. K-pop flashed a stat, as I made a mention about it not long ago. He showed it. It's like basically was the least picked item in all, or least bought item in all of Dota and competitive, and ended up increasing by like 40-50% after the latest patch. There's going to be a glimpse. Phaeton brought back kinetic field. Nope, not able to get him. Ice Blast will maybe catch one. Nope, GoldBlack steps right out of it. But let's see if Mouz wants to push this. They've got a sentry down. There's going to be the Mirana ult deployed. Sidoi comes out, gets the silence off. He is going to be telekinesis though, and unable to jaunt. No, must have been max range. Very, very close. Almost ran out on him.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised as well, like that jaunt, he was able to jaunt to that, but that could have been disastrous for Mouz at the same time if he got to go. Oh, the glimpse will happen.
There's a static storm down as well, and very tanky MSS. They need to finish him off, because here comes the help. Phaeton comes up, gets off the Dragon Tail. There's going to be a coil spit on just MSS this time. He will end up dropping, but the rest of Mouz is ready to engage. Yol's in trouble, should end up dropping here as well, perhaps. Now Weaver kind of tucked into a corner, doing what he can against Phaeton. Phaeton going to be stopped from the TP using that overgrowth. And GoldBlack secures a very high priority kill with that. And we were just singing the praises of Mouz and how well they had played. That was really, really awkward. It was awkward on both sides. RoX committed a lot to bring down MSS, and, you know, understandably so. High-value kill in its own right. But the engagement and the follow-up from Mouz was just a little wonky.
Yeah, it was. I feel like for Mouz, they felt too pressured to get something done with that Shadow Blade, and like the first two Shadow. Oh, well, hold on real quick, guys. They're gonna be spamming mid. Oh, GoldBlack's probably dead here.
Yep, GoldBlack is gonna shatter, and Roche is still standing. This is kind of big. Leech Seed was actually stolen by Rubik too, so a little bit of a hopeful spell to have in team fights. Mouz able to keep them out of the pit. That's a pretty damn big win for them.
Yeah, that Roche was low too. It'll be interesting to see if they notice it and try to take it themselves, but most likely RoX.KiS. Yeah, everyone's just pinging on it right now. People want to get that Roche down. Both teams are going to converge again, and we'll see who gets the Roche. At this point, it's super low. Can they get there in time from RoX.KiS to defend this?
I don't think so. Their puck's nowhere near, and I can't imagine them trying to fight without him. They're going to teleport in. They need to hurry in that pit if they're going to bring it down. Roche low, as you said, but yeah, they're going to go for it. Solo's going to lead. Puck's going to be a little tardy to the party. PyCat's so low, though, and could end up dying here. There's the mech, but down goes the kinetic field and the static storm. Who ended up getting it? It was Mirana. Did pick it up. Now the vacuum back. Solo doing what damage he can. Mirana lost the Aegis as soon as she got it, but able to leap back to the high ground. MSS coiled and using that wall to kite around as best as he can. Does end up dying when all's said and done. Mouz ends up getting the Aegis, but it cost them 2 heroes, and they ended up feeding it just as soon as they got it anyway.
Right, I'm not sure who that even favors at that point, considering they got the Roche experience and gold. They lost 2 for it and got 1 kill out of it, so a pretty relatively even engagement. We're getting close to that. That's a book 3. Wow, that is. They have very few ways of dealing with that book 3 at this point. It's gonna hurt in a major way. And Puck, more importantly, he's been getting a lot of work done, and that was without a Blink Dagger. He has actually a really late Blink Dagger this game, but he now picks it up at 20 minutes.
Yep. Well, we knew, we were talking about it. His laning phase was good from an experience point of view, but he was broke as a joke.
Yeah.
And, yeah, having that up now is going to make them a little bit more flexible. Looks like they want to push a tier 2. Now, this has a very similar look to when the wheels came off the wagon in Game 1. Just grouping up, pushing down mid. If Mouz can punish him like they did before, it's almost the exact same lineup for the most part. And
well, they have better late game with the Weaver instead of the Panda, so they do have a fallback if something does go wrong. They don't have to keep banging their head against the wall. So it looks like it's just going to be a deny for the most part, unless they choose to rush in and commit to this, which I doubt.
Yep, not going to make that mistake. There's TPM. What did Rubik get? Got Shikuchi. Very nice. And denied by AA.
It's good for initiation, but at this point, like, when you reveal that you're going Shadow Blade on your Dragon Knight, RoX.KiS just counter that by just 5-manning a lot and not allowing the pickoffs to happen. And seeing that you do have Tsukuchi, they're going to have a lot of reveal for that. So it is a good pickup, but it's not as good as it usually is in most games, unfortunately.
We're at just short of 22 minutes in. Take a look at the gold graph, see how these teams are stacking up. 750 gold lead. Very, very marginal. Basically negligible lead at the moment for RoX.KiS. The experience is a little bit of a bigger gap, but it's a tight one. So coming down the late game, I mean, obviously there is a bit of an advantage going to RoX with the Midas pickup. But, you know, say ultra late, say 60 minutes. Which lineup do you favor the most?
At 60 minutes, which lineup? It's hard to say. I think it's relatively easy, but Mouse Sports in particular, just because they have that Darkseer and the AA, I would give them a little bit of a lead, but RoX.KiS is going to be so strong at about 40 minutes that it's going to be hard to get to that 60 minutes.
See if we end up back there. We actually had the last game was pretty long, all things considered.
Yeah, it was
50 some minutes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right. It actually was over 50 minutes, so it was a lot longer than it felt.
So neither of these teams shy away from going to the late game if they need to. How do you feel about PyCat? Do you think he should have maybe considered getting the Midas, even though it's kind of out of vogue now?
I think this build is fine. You still farm, like, he's not really hurting that much in farm, because like the Maelstrom does help you farm really quickly. It's kind of like a Midas in that regard. It will help you farm quite a bit, but if they were going to play passive, yeah, I like to see the Midas up. Whenever you have a free farm situation where you know you're not going to get pressured, and you probably can't pressure them either, considering that they have really good defensive heroes and hard to kill heroes. With all their cores are like very difficult to kill and have like some type of escape mechanism.
Looks like we're going to have a trade of the tier 2s as RoX shows themselves in lane, and there is a collapse from Mouz down to bottom. It is 5 that are at top for RoX.KiS, so they may decide to push through here because they've caught Mouz a little bit spread out at the moment. They're going to have to TP back as quickly as they can and get set for this. RoX, yeah, they're going high ground. Moving on up, and Rubik making them think twice about it with the Fade Bolt. Necro Creeps doing what work they can, and the Lincolns used or popped off that time, so on cooldown momentarily. There's going to be a glimpse back on Fade and the Static Storm kinetic field's there. Solo's going to lead in and chase down Misery, actually. And, yeah, actually ends up not being able to finish him off. He used Shikuchi, and behind that, the fight continues to rage as RoX, once again, is turned away at the steps. There's going to be an Ice Blast that doesn't catch anything. Solo caught from behind with the telekinesis. Deja vu all over again, trying to push the tier 3, and things going poorly. Mouz holds the line, extends their lead, and yeah, that's very familiar. Very familiar.
Yeah, I've seen that so many times in this qualifier in particular. So many teams, like, they get a lead, and then
jeez, look at the
net
worth change.
Yeah, they just like go past this area right over there, and it's like, why? Why do that? Like, you, especially against a Darkseer. I can understand if you went on the Darkseer there, and then you're like, okay, we killed him instantly. But they went on the Dragon Knight there. Darkseer gets off a beautiful like 4 or 5 man vacuum wall, and you're like, okay, we just lost the team fight. Overextensions galore. Like, when you're breaking the high ground, do not dive. Like, it never works. It never ever works. Maybe 1 out of like 20 times being generous, especially at this stage of the game. So yeah, deja vu, overextensions yet again, and that hurts a lot.
Yep, that was a huge swing. If we can take a look at the goal graph after that. Yeah, look at that. Big swing. As we're now back in favor of Mouz. And the experience, yeah, huge turnaround there. All the way down to 0. That's actually the first time all game experience has favored Mouz at 25 minutes in. So RoX.KiS, you know, if you're them, does this maybe put you in a bit of a panic because it's the second game in a row you've had the same problem?
I doubt they're panicked, but I think since this is kind of why they picked the Weaver, in my opinion. It's like, okay, if we get in a situation like we were last game, at least we'll have something to fall back into the late game.
Right.
He's a little under, like, his farm isn't terrible right now, to be honest with you, but it's not super amazing. He is actually top of net worth, but he doesn't have that death swap, but they're still in really good shape, so they're going to keep going, but just don't overextend. They just need to not overextend, or they need to keep an eye on that Darkseer. That's not a hero you can overextend into.
It looks like they're ready to wipe the board clean of towers if possible. They've got 4, soon to be 5. All moving down the bottom. Mouz in front of it. Rotating their heroes down as well. That tier 1, not in the best of shape. There's going to be an Ice Blast that will connect on Solo. There's going to be a vacuum back, the wall as well. And, yeah, looks like a little indecisiveness. Mouz, though, ready to move out. RoX looked like they might have wanted to fight. They're going to catch Yol, who drops a Static Storm in a panic and ends up dying behind him. Behind that, though, we can see Misery is being chopped down. They're committing so much to bring him down, though. Pos coming forward to help. MSS alive for the moment and stays alive. They can't bring him down. He's going to snap the tether just to create some space, and now Golblack in trouble again. They gave up the DK. Mech buys a little bit of time, but they end up losing 4 in exchange for 1, maybe 5 if they can track down the Weave. They hit the arrow. They're going to have a telekinesis there as well. Great pop of the Lincolns. Nope, time lapse buys him a little bit of time. MSS still alive. Greed ends up selling out to try to get the kill, give the Rubik, who was focus fired for the majority of that fight, a triple kill and a full 5-man wipe in favor of Mouz Sports.
Yeah, that was really well played from Mouz Sports. They're just completely outplaying RoX.KiS at this point. Every single team fight they're taking, they're just executing better.
Yep. Well, again, looks familiar, feels familiar. If you're RoX.KiS, you want to get away from that as quickly as you can, as they had momentum and they were looking pretty solid. I actually like the way they moved to top, but you know, when you draft these kind of lineups, granted the Weaver, as you've said, does give you a little bit more of a safety belt late. Still, you can't afford to really run out of steam. You know, if Mouz is able to now start pressing your towers, and even though they only have one tower still standing, with the lineup you have, that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, it really shouldn't. And yeah, that was like a 5-man wipe there, so that puts Ron on top of the net worth now. And on top of that, the top lane, they lost 3-0, I believe, on that engagement up there. And guess what? Rubik stole tree armor, so all that damage they did to the top tier 3 tower is now being healed up to full.
That's a little unfortunate.
So RoX.KiS is just getting punished in every single way right now within the last, what has it been, 5 minutes?
Yep.
Like, they had such a good lead, and it's just gone downhill since that. Goldgraph says that too. Just everything's just downhill. Everything.
Yep. Yeah, their lead was marginal by the metrics, but so often, especially with a Lycan in your lineup, it's more. I'm trying to think what the best way to put it. Like, I keep using the word momentum, and I think that's kind of it. Like, you have a lineup that so long as you're break even or better, you're just going to be awesome at a certain phase of the game.
Right.
And now, though, this is when you still should be shining and feeling very effective. You've lost that momentum. The other team has caught up, closed the gap in terms of levels, experience, item progression. There's a BKB now on the Mirana, for example. And your lineup that is still doing what it was, still can do what you drafted it to do. It's just the other team is now maybe a little bit ahead and had time to get up 1 or 2 very important items. And now you just can't follow through with your game plan. And they are a little bit less one-dimensional this time, but still really reliant on getting down some tier 3s soon.
And that's going to be double BKB now. Fada also finished its BKB. On top of the Mirana finishing hers as well, and she's extremely farmed on this Mirana now. Like, DK with the Mjolnir buff is huge. You saw it the last fight. It did so much work. They tried focusing on the DK. They got him, but he did so much damage before he died, and they almost got him out of that whole team fight engagement. So RoX.KiS does need to get some more pickoffs here. It's going to be a lot harder. They do have ways of dealing with BKBs. Like Lycan, most everything he does pretty much goes through BKB. Same with Weaver, and Tree does have the root, but Disruptor now doesn't do too much, to be honest with you, and Puck as well. Like, with those BKBs, they're going to be a little relevant now. It looks like we're going to have a fight in mid.
Yep, double smoke. Both looking for each other. It looks like Mouz is actually going to be the one to catch him from behind. Down goes the Static Storm Kinetic Field. They got Misery. If they can drop him, it'll be big for them. Mech'd up, but not enough. Behind that, though, Goldblack doing what he can. Feitai eating a lot of damage. BKB's up on both he and Solo. Solo wins that battle as well. Buyback immediately out of Misery. MSS got the wall down. He's going to end up dying behind the fight as well. And now Poss hanging around a little bit too long. Tracked down, cleaned up. 3 for 2 exchange, including a buyback on Misery. So it's actually a 4 for 2. And Sadoy now leading the charge. That's just the catalyst that RoX.KiS needed. But is it good enough? They lost the Weaver. That's the one hero they didn't want to lose in all that.
Yeah, and he wasn't able to get anything off there and just died instantly, but that definitely was a good fight for RoX.KiS.
Yeah.
They managed to kill that Dragonite and 2 other heroes. They lost 2 heroes, that's fine, but that's what they're looking for. They just need to get a couple more team fights. Weaver, unfortunately, didn't have rebuy, so he couldn't have time-lapse back in the fight. He did finish his Desolator. And if we do finish one more item on top of this Weaver, such as that BKB or Mansa, whatever he decides to go for, that'll help out a ton for his survivability. If they can just survive, they do have the damage, as you saw. They have plenty of damage right there, but it's going to be, I don't know, it's a really close game, I still feel.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Well, that's just what they needed. Like, we were talking about momentum. They were beginning to run out of gas, and now they just topped it off a little. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They've got the fuel they need to keep pressing the issue. And Mouz, though, the Mjolnir done in full-on Pycat, as you said. We're beginning to see the BKBs play a big role. I feel like Mouz is still in a bit of a commanding position. RoX.KiS needs one more good smoke gank or something like that.
Yeah, they just need the team fight initiation. Like, that's what they've been lacking every single fight. Like, their initiations have been, like, mediocre.
Yeah.
And Misery's been getting some good spell steals and, like, just being a huge nuisance. And they just finished him off instantly in that team fight. So he couldn't get... I mean, if you looked at the last couple team fights, the reason why some of these people died is because that lift was there at the last possible second.
Right.
And they took that out of the equation. They were able to win a team fight. And at this point, what do we have on our Lycan, he has 1.9k gold, so he hasn't actually had much item progression under that BKB. I'm curious to see what he goes next, but he can just stick on that Dragonite and kill him very quickly, as you saw in that last team fight, and so can Weaver. Weaver needs to get one more defensive item here. I feel like if he would have stayed alive a little longer, that would have been like a total wipe for Mouse Force.
Sadoy is on his way to a Hex as we see the Ultimate Orb picked up. And looks like RoX is ready to cross the river again. They're going to pick a lane sometime soon. Net worth, we can see it is very close. RoX actually has a marginal lead right now in terms of overall net worth at 5K. But Mouz is continuing to move fairly well and make sure they don't get caught out again. That catch out from RoX, or that, one fight from RoX, very important. There's going to be the arrow tossed. Passes through Roshan, but nobody home on the other side. RoX looks like they're going to commit to either top or mid.
And Disruptor is also getting close to an Aghanim's. I mean, he is 2 parts away, but that's going to be another big item if he's able to catch out any hero, really, especially the Dragonite, before he can get his BKB off. They can burn him down super quickly. Darkseer is not bad either, so they can't get the mech off. But if they can get that up on top of a coil, if they can hit the Static Storm coil on top of a bunch of heroes, that'll be devastating.
Yep. It looks like RoX is a little gun shy and not wanting to overcommit.
I wonder why.
Yeah, exactly. If you're them, what's the right call, man? Like, if you're the captain, what's the play?
I think they can split push easily and just wait for Roche, and Roche is up, so I think before they do have the Aegis now on top of, if they get the Aegis on top of Weaver, I think they can easily just slow push. Like, just put the book in, hit the towers with the Deso, just poke it with Howl, and just do that over and over again, and it should be fairly easy to take the high ground, and that'll force Mouz to make some type of initiation. But they need the Aegis first, so Roche will be a big spot of contention.
Well, they were flirting around with it a bit, but not willing to commit to that either. And you can definitely tell these teams tightening up their play, not playing nearly as riskily as one might expect in any other context. There's just so much on the line for both. Mouz is going to go ahead and use their ulti. Moonlight Shadow has them undercover, and they're going to try to move through mid. And yeah, just a ton of pings and kind of a do-si-do around the Roche pit now.
It's basically just a game of chess at this point, just positioning and moving across the map.
Looks like we might end up seeing them run into each other as RoX is up on the high ground near the Dire Side Secret Shop. Sentries are down, plenty of them.
That's never a place you want to walk when there's like no vision on the map.
Yep, exactly.
Just going up those hills like that is a little dangerous, especially when you see the Lycan pushing bottom. So Mouz make the right call. Don't run up the hill there. Or does Pycat? Pycat does have a double damage this fight.
Let's see. He's flirting with it. There's going to be a Dragon Tail to lead solo. Telekinesis afterwards into the wall as well. Brought down, uses the ulti. Now the coil, though. The impetus to reinitiate. Goldblack's in trouble. Ends up getting hit. Pycat hitting hard, but taking so much damage from that Weaver. And he ends up dying. He had time-lapse. So the Weaver, unable to time-lapse the damage, ends up dropping. Sadoy's next on the list. That's 3-0. And Yol likely to get caught here as well if they pursue him. Nope. Are they going to go for it? Nope. Going to drop the kinetic field just to stay safe. That's a free Roshan, that's a one fight, and that's a big problem for RoX.
This game is such a roller coaster.
It is.
One team wins a team fight, next team wins the next team fight, so in theory, RoX should win the next team fight.
Was the Weaver stunned there?
I did not see exactly what happened to her, but that Weaver has not got her time lapse off even once this game, I feel. And the one time he did get it off, he died anyways. That's what I'm saying. Like, he needs a BKB or something.
That was
like,
just bizarre.
He's just dying, And at this point, like, this Weaver needs to be doing damage, as I was saying. And now they have an Aegis on top of this Mirana, and she's up to 3.6k gold. She's gonna... You can't ignore that Mirana, but she's also very hard to focus down, seeing that she is a Mirana with an Aegis at this point in the game.
20-12. Mouz taking the wind out of the RoX.KiS sails. And now in strong end of this game. A win guarantees them a trip to Seattle and puts them in our grand finals of the EU Hub, meaning they'll have a shot to play for a direct seed into the International 4 bracket. Of course, if RoX.KiS does lose, they still have a chance to fight their way out of the lower bracket, as both these teams finished number 1 and number 2 in the overall group stage standings. Our second match of the day, by the way, just to go ahead and plug that while we have a moment or two of quiet, is going to be Virtus Pro taking on Team Coast, a.k.a. Monomaniacs, who have really impressed all of us, so make sure you stick around. I'm not sure who's casting that, but I'm sure it'll be an amazing tandem anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure who is casting that one either.
Gods and Merlini, absolutely. Okay. So, lots of theory crafting. Whole lot of flaming.
We have Aghanim's up on AA, which is kind of a big deal. Every time you see that hit, it's like you get into the team fight and then it feels like you just need to back up, especially when you're playing against heroes like Darkseer and the Mjolnir and Dragonite who have a lot of splash damage. If you get enough splash damage on you, you're just going to die just because you can't heal up. Leech Seed won't work, Vlad's will not work, any type of lifesteal will not be effective whatsoever. So that is a major pickup for Mouse Sports. And on top of that, oh, Mirana is going for an arrow? No, I'm not going to hit, but looking for the pickups.
Mouz venturing on to the other side of the map, as you said, looking to make something happen. RoX.KiS on the back foot, really just hoping to get a little bit of room. Yoel's out there all by his lonesome, and good call, man. He's going to head back and TP home.
And we're starting to approach that stage of the game where I was like, okay, they don't really have much of a combo with Darkseer. We saw Darkseer got some good vacuum walls, not really that scary for the most part, but it's late game now. He has a Shivas, Dragonite is that level 17, so if they just vacuum all the heroes into Fada, if they can, it's going to be very difficult to win a team fight now.
Mouz continuing to play it safe, though. Yeah, I agree with you. And that's kind of what makes Darkseer Darkseer. The later the game goes, stronger the illusions get, and it's problems. Lycan, in the meantime, has picked up a big item. That'll be an Assault Cuirass for him. Sadoy, in desperate need of that Scythe of Ice, is miles away from it. Still needs 1,200 gold just to finish. The Mystic Staff has the ulti orb done, which is nice, but they certainly could use the lockdown. And that's something that I haven't even really talked a whole lot about. They've got Overgrowth, they've got Coil, that's nice. And if you can, basically they've got 3 big AoE spells that are nice in teamfights, but in terms of just being able to lock down a single target without blowing a big ultimate, they don't really have the ability to do that at all.
Yeah, pretty much. All of their stuff is basically AoE. I mean, they could get a Basher up on the Lycan. That would be good lockdown for the Dragonite. And as far as Mouse Sports goes, single target initiation, they have 2 with the Dragonite and the Telekinesis. So that's pretty much how Weaver's been dying for the most part, I think.
Yeah.
Both of them just pop all of their disables on him and just burst him down as quickly as they can. And yeah, granted, maybe a couple of times Weaver could have time-lapsed, but didn't get it off. Yep. But he's definitely going to have to hit those time lapses. That's kind of how the hero works. Like, get close to dying, time-lapse, turn the fight kind of thing. But at this stage of the game, he does have a BKB now, so it's very unlikely he's going to die without getting off most of his damage in the team fight.
Speaking of damage, we did see, even though he died, he was hitting extremely hard. So it's not as if RoX.KiS lacks firepower. Just between the Lycan and the Weaver and their single target DPS alone, that can run over Mouz if Mouz doesn't play these fights correctly. They just haven't been making mistakes for the most part. Mirana is getting closer to Butterfly, though. Already has up the Eagle Song. And now they're going to engage solo. Leading out, there's going to be a 3-man coil. Here comes the Weaver coming in to do damage. Just blows Misery to pieces. And they have to deal with him. Phaeton going to be caught. Good Overgrowth. Locks down everyone. Pycat loses the Aegis. And now MSS has to make a run for it. He'll be glimpsed back to his doom. No, is he not? I was going to say surely not. Leap away from Pycat. Into the trees, though. There's the Waiting Rift. And they should be able to finish this up in the meantime. So Mouz playing catch with RoX.KiS as they give up 5 and RoX back in the driver's seat once again.
I told you. Like, this is so weird. This is so weird.
It's a lot of back and forth, man.
I mean, it's just like, it just shows you it's all about execution. But I think more than anything, it's just like Weaver got his stuff off.
Yeah.
For like the first time in 3 fights. Yeah. Was able to do damage. And I was like favoring Mouse for a while. And then I was like, I was favoring RoX.KiS because I felt like the Weaver was going to do a lot of work. But they did a good job of just shutting him down. But now he has a BKB. It's a lot harder. So RoX.KiS is going to push base and get wiped again, and it's going to go the other way probably.
Well, what's we talked about during the draft. What's the one thing you cannot do from RoX.KiS and hope to survive? You can't retreat. Yeah. Like, if they get eyes on you and they want to fight, they will take a fight against you. They will glimpse you. They will be able to track you down with Puck, as we saw. The Lycan certainly not going to have a problem running you down from behind. And Mouz just kind of made the mistake of, if I think that fight goes completely differently. If they're face up and just say, yeah, come get us. Instead, they get picked off from behind, and it was just a cluster. They couldn't put anything together.
I think more importantly than anything, it's just like, they need to get the initiation. Like, that was a beautiful initiation from the Puck right there. Like, he just needs to get in there. Even if he gets 1 or 2 heroes, that's plenty. Like, the fights they're losing is when they kind of awkwardly engage. They don't really catch anyone. And just like, as you saw in the bottom fight, Lycan got caught down there. He got hit by the ult from AA, Telekinesis, and then they just kind of were like fighting when Lycan was like at a disadvantage. So if whoever team like seems like get the initiation seems to be winning these team fights.
Yep. 20-17, 37 kills and a 42-minute game. Not a single tier 3 down. In fact, we still got 3 tier 2 standing, 2 for RoX and 1 for Mouz. And it looks like both teams content to just go farm for a bit. RoX, though, probably likely to get out and moving around again soon.
Neither team is really pressured to do anything right now. Both teams have a lot of, like, they have some wiggle room for items. Like, you need one more item on Lycan, so he's getting close to that 6th slot at this stage of the game. Weaver, he has two more slots with the Magic Stick and the Midas up to 3,500 gold. So they might choose to farm, like, maybe one more item on both of them and then go push. It's totally up to preference, but Mouz thinks a push is coming and agrees with you, and they ping a defense on their tower there.
Yep. Doesn't look like RoX is really in the mood, though. Maybe, again, a little gun shy, just from having things blow up in their face. That last fight should be indicative of how good of a position they're in, though. And now, with Sadoy getting that Hex up, we were talking about how badly they needed another form of lockdown. That's actually a pretty big pick for them. That's going to allow them to choose between the DK and the Mirana, and should be able to reliably bring one down pretty quickly.
Yeah, and they also have the Aghanims on Disrupt. I'm not sure if they had it that fight. They did have it that fight, okay. So that's another huge item. Like, Puck can just jump on anyone. If you lay down the Aghanim's ult too, you can't really escape it. I mean, you'll get stunned in it. You can't pop BKB to get out of the coil with the Static Storm there. So if they can get that type of initiation, I think it really depends on Disruptor and Puck getting the initiation, and then Tree is there for the counter initiation after, and if the BKBs do get popped, that's how they should be playing these team fights.
Yep, makes sense. RoX was just waiting on the Scythe of Ice. They group as 5, and they're pushing down bottom lane now. Mal's going to have a chance to respond. They should see it coming. They may just sacrifice it, though. Yeah, I think that's going to be the plan. Is they've got two way too spread out. The DK and the Mirana nowhere near in a position to come fight this out. So just conceding their last outer tier tower.
Yeah, they realized if they would have lost the fight there, they probably would have lost the racks as well. So a little chancy to defend that, so they choose not to. That tower doesn't mean that much either for the most part, not at this stage of the game.
And RoX still hanging about the pit, at least for the moment. Fata continuing to farm up. Looks like, yeah, I would imagine he's looking for an Assault Cuirass here.
Yeah, he's definitely. I mean, he could go Shivas, but that'd just be weird. So he wants more late game firepower. And Pycap probably saving for rebuy, but he does have enough for his Butterfly, which is a pretty good pickup here. He can afford. Actually, Weaver does have money for that Monkey King bar, so it's going to be negated a little bit by that. So Weaver can actually just melt the Mirana in these fights too. So that Butterfly won't be enough, I feel.
Roche dying very quickly. And they're going to get it down before they can react. They were kind of headed in that direction. Looks like they thought better of it. Aegis taken by Lycan, and the Weaver, I'm going to imagine, picked up the cheese.
He's selling his Midas. Unfortunately, it was off cooldown, so he doesn't get to use it before selling it, but small efficiency.
Hashtag efficiency.
Yeah. Or there, or lack of.
Double damage rune there. If somebody wants to go grab it. Mouz, definitely wanting to get defensive right now and just farming away. There's the MKB pickup now on the Weaver. Like, honest to goodness, it feels like RoX is just about to hit critical mass. Like, they're just getting so big.
Yeah, but for RoX, as we saw in the last, not just the last game, but the last couple fights, is can they breach high ground without overextending? I feel like that's their biggest challenge right now as a team. It's breaching that high ground without overextending and just throwing their lead away. So I would say, like, okay, they're out of control now. They're going to push and just win the game, but we've seen it too many times now. They just overextend way too much. So if they can keep their cool together, I think they have a good shot of just sieging and taking buildings right now. Put the book in, pop the Howl, and just have Weaver sit there and hit on it for a little bit.
Exactly. Like, and that's the nice thing. You know, we talked about the extra DPS, the extra late game that a Weave gives you, but he does make sieging much less risky proposition. As you said, you just Shikuchi up, do some damage, Shikuchi away, you know, so on and so on.
It's a little strange for me, though, is that the Lycan took the Aegis over the Weaver. Kind of strange, because they can burst that Weaver down quickly, and Lycan with an Aegis is really underwhelming for the most part. He just gets, like, if you have your ult up and you die with it, you're not going to come back with your ult.
Right.
So, and he has a lot of HP, so the cheese can be very useful, but seeing that they're playing his AA, cheese isn't the greatest. But they picked up that DD. They have a few seconds to use it, but Glyph is up.
Here we go. He's going to use the ulti, move up. Weaver coming in behind the fight a bit. Glyph is used. Let's see if they want to try to fight this. Fata waiting off to the side. They're going to end up bringing down the tier 3. Now going to work on the racks is going to be a telekinesis onto the Lycan, but no initiation. Weaver hitting so damn hard. Fata comes out, pops the Lincolns. But that's about all they got accomplished. They just lost 1 Rax for free. They may end up losing 2 if RoX decides to keep fighting. I mean, they're going to wait out the Ice Blast, and they could just reset and go again.
This is good, and really good patience from them. Instead of overextending and looking for hero kills. At this stage of the game, if you go for hero kills, there's buybacks up. They're just going to rebuy, and you're going to lose the fight. We've seen it so many times before, so just go for buildings.
So they will. Moving up now. Here comes the Dragon Knight, though. He's actually going to be hexed. Static Storm Kinetic Field's off the mark. Pycat doing what damage he can. BZZ just ripping through this Mouseport squad. MSS dropped quickly. He and Solo doing tons of damage, and they're going to be able to bring down the Rax. They end up losing the Aegis, but in the end, they're going to be quite happy with that. Misery actually stole Lycan's ulti. So, cute little baby wolf. Solo should end up dying here again, but again, they're not going to mind that one little bit. Stinks that they're giving that much gold to DK, but being able to bring down a Rax at this stage of the game, they should be fine.
Yeah, it was a very good choice to just, like, not have save your buddy syndrome there and try to save that Lycan, because they all would have died. Just cut your losses there, and they got a Rax out of it, so that was a good trade for them. So they're going to be able to do that as many times as they want to, I feel. They do pick up a Basher on the Lycan. I thought he had that for a while, but it says he just picked it up. But anyways, he's getting close to that Abyssal Blade too, and they can just siege very easily. They got 50 seconds to do whatever they can, but you can bet Lycan has a rebuy if they want to fight this.
Mouz looking to eliminate the last outer tier tower, still standing on the map. They're hanging. Yeah, they're going to go ahead and commit. They should be able to bring this down. Pycat's hitting very hard. We haven't even really been talking about that just because the Weaver is hitting much harder than everyone else. Like, that Weaver is just destroying people.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, you can just say the Weaver just sticks on them Ron at this point.
Yep.
He just can kill her very quickly. She's the only, or he is the only one that has, like, an ability to go through that evasion. And Lycan, he can just stick on top of the Dragon Knight with that Basher and Book, and he can lock him down pretty nicely. So they have really good answers and item selections to deal with Mouz's course right now.
Everyone falling back for the moment. Would imagine sometime soon RoX will be grouping to push bottom and maybe split push top at the same time. Looking ahead to the next few minutes until RoX is ready to fight again. What's the game plan of your Mouz? Like, how are you approaching this? What do you think gives you the best chance to succeed? They may get a glimpse off here. Yep, they will. Actually bring him all the way around. There's a Hex to follow. Sadoy's right there, uses the coil. And Kinetic Field, Static Storm. That's dead MSS, and he's down for 90 seconds. I don't think he has buyback.
No, 4-minute cooldown.
Yep.
So he is down in Light of Heaven, given the dot and spectator chat. But that's 78 seconds with no darks here, and
yep.
That's going to be very hard to defend your base with that. It's going to be so hard without that vacuum wall.
Well, I asked you a question, and I think we got the answer.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
No, you definitely don't.
That is not usually going to help. But yeah, like you said, he's down for a minute, and they're just going to rush on up. That tower, not likely to stay standing for long. Phaeton just kind of zoning as best he can out in front. But without the DS, they're just hurting so much. There's going to be the Lincoln's popped. Ice Blast will be shot. He's going to connect on a couple. Solo, BKB, and he just rushed up.
YOLO.
Yep, he's going to go ahead and use the Abyssal. He just two-shotted that hero, bringing Rubik down. Tier 3's down now. Pycat doing what damage he can. There's going to be an Overgrowth that locks him down, and that Weaver just doing work. He's out there by himself, though. They're kind of falling back into the habits that forced them to lose last time. They overextended quite a bit there. Cheese actually consumed to make sure that BZZ makes it back to safety, so they don't get racks, but they do get the tier 3 and a couple of kills to boot.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad, but I feel like they definitely could have taken a racks there, but Solo going full YOLO mode right there, and just like, that's, you see it too many times now, just, you go into the base, they kite you for a little bit, they rebuy, and then you end up losing heroes and not getting the objectives you came for.
Yep. All he had to do was focus fire. I mean, it's fun to blow a Rubik up. It's fun to run in and two-shot him with swipes. But, yeah, much more, would have worked out much better if he had just tunnel visioned one of the racks then backed. But as it stands, Mouz still in this game, though they are kind of hanging by a thread.
Yeah, I thought for sure they were going to lose the racks down there. That Darkseer was dead for so long, so they are still holding on. They didn't take that much damage from that push, to be honest with you. Like, they lost the tier 3 tower, which sucks, sure, but they're going to have their glyph up soon. And more importantly, the Raxes are still standing.
Mouz, just farming, man. Like, yeah, seriously, though, like, bringing back around to the question, what, if you're in the captain's chairs, are you game planning for Mouz to give yourselves maximum chance to succeed?
I mean, they just have to defend at this point. They can't really push their lanes out because they always have to deal with top lane. So, like, they just need to find perfect initiation, and that has to be within the Darkseer. Like, Darkseer getting caught out was so massive. It's so massive. He is their team fight at this point. He needs to get the vacuum wall off, so they need to sit in their base, wait till RoX.KiS goes up, and then he needs to wait until RoX.KiS initiates again, preferably until they do what they did again, just go overextend, and then just get a nice vacuum wall. And it's basically, RoX is going to set the tempo for this game. They can just keep slow sieging. If they want, they can wait for another Roshan to just be extra safe, get the Aegis up, and do what they did on top lane and get their axe.
Mouz ready to set a tone of their own. Smoked up, getting ready to move past the Roche pit. There is a haste rune. GoBlack will be able to grab that, but yep, that's the right rune. Able to blink and haste away.
And DK used his ult there, actually. That's fairly big. If they want to time a push right now with DK's ult going down, DK is a big part of their team fight with that splash breath on top of like the vacuum. So if I actually would like to see them go push mid like in about 10-20 seconds or 30 seconds when that ult does go down. And it looks like they want to get aggressive too, so they do pop the smoke, which is a good call.
Daedalus, just about done. Actually, Daedalus is done for the Weaver now.
Ouch.
Yep, he's got the recipe. He can buy the Demon Edge, and he'll be set. So his right click going to be getting much bigger. Buyback status is going to be an issue for Mouz. As we can see, no one on their entire squad has buyback, not a one.
Yeah, I mean, is it cool? And some of them have cooldowns, which mainly the Darkseer actually is cooldowns just going down, but none of them just have money at this point.
Yep. Kind of starved there. Lost those racks, and you know it doesn't seem like it at the time. It stinks getting less gold from creeps in a lane like that, but it's actually a lot less over time.
Actually, that Mirana I didn't notice has a full data list too.
Yep.
She is massive, absolutely massive. The damage output she can put in these fights, if RoX.KiS overextend just a little bit, is going to be enormous. And Arrow does catch GoBlack, but they're not getting anything out of it. But
you think they can contest this Roshan?
They can, but I think they're too late already. It's gonna be dead. Like, you can always defend Roche, I feel, when you have heroes like Darkseer and AA, but it's just they have no vision, so they don't even know, like, if it's up right now, and they're gonna grab it. And it looks like they're gonna do... Okay, Puck's gonna pick it up. What is even Puck going for? A Lincolnster? I guess so. Maybe a Scotty. Who knows? But she's got an extra ultimate on top of that Hex. And who has the cheese at this point, too? I mean, Weaver's already so stacked. I guess Disruptor has a cheese. Not really game-breaking at all. So they can actually still burst the hero down. The Aegis isn't going to be as big a deal as I thought, but we'll see if Puck can actually just make something happen with it.
There's an arrow that will connect. Hits Sidoi. Looks like they're unwilling to come out already, though. And just trying to hold the line is going to be the phase shift. Getting away from the Ice Blast. It actually still did hit him, so irrelevant, but... Yeah, they're just going to continue to play this patiently. There goes the Rax. Now they're going to rush in. Solo leading. Gets off the stun on the Posse. Is going to be the Static Storm Kinetic Field. Phaetot down in a blink of an eye. MSS next on the list. Is Solo's right on his tail. Misery trying to help, but only so much he can do. Two-man coil. Secures at least one kill. And Mouz looks to have reached the end of the line here in this game. Finally. RoX.KiS able to put it together. Good Glamson. Jeez.
Yeah, that's GG.
That'll do. So, we are going the distance. Everyone predicted that much at least. We all agreed on it, that this was very likely to be a series that saw 3 games, and that's going to be the case. Relatively quiet for the most part. Just 47 kills in an almost hour-long game. But, yeah, action-packed. And RoX.KiS, I think, did exactly what you really want them to do in this kind of a situation. They made adjustments. They got themselves into much better shape, ran a very similar lineup, but at the same time, they tweaked it just enough to secure the win.
Right. So they did manage to go ahead and, sorry, 1 second, we got someone sleeping on duty. Yeah. But anyways, that explains the game a little bit in a nutshell. It wasn't that exciting to watch. It was the team fights. It's like, RoX.KiS would win the team fight, Mouz would win the team fight, RoX would win the team fight, and then, as you were saying about the adjustments, the Weaver pick was very good, I feel, because, like, whenever they seem to push high grounds, they have difficulties. And when they lose 1 or 2 fights pushing up the high ground, you can't do that when you have a lineup like Panda, Like, and stuff like that. So they did fail a couple of those and then got behind, but they did have the right heroes to come back from that. So they played it much more patiently this time. I'd like to see in the next game that tier 3 push just this time stay totally disciplined. Don't extend anymore. It hasn't been working out at all for them. But they were able to get the W regardless. But I don't know. It was a really close series, but Mouz also their draft seemed a little iffy to me. Like the Darkseer, it's a good hero, but what was it? What was the purpose of it in that game entirely?
You called it a casual Darkseer.
Yeah, it was a casual Darkseer. So it didn't really. Their lineups to me don't really, as you're saying, there's no glue really for them. They just go off individual skill and laning phase. And RoX.KiS was able to at least abuse it this one game.
Yeah, and I think it confirms what we were talking about as well. Like, the strength that RoX.KiS has is their drafting, and just really smart. Just, not getting away from, not going, well, that didn't work, so we'll never draft it again. They like Lycan, they like running the tree, etc. It's like, yeah, we know how to fix this now, and they made the adjustment and get the win. So we're going to a game 3. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers. Fear by my side. We'll be back here on the North American Hub, our coverage of TI4 presented by Monster Energy, again for the rubber game, Game 3 of RoX versus Mouz. Stick with us.